Okay, third video in the series of Sky's hoof trim that I think need just a little bit more information that I didn't really provide so much into in the live stream. For everybody that's interested in hoof trimming and understanding your horse's hoofs and why they work the particular way that they work, I hope this is just another good video in this series of videos I plan on making about hooves. The material with that I took with Sky's trim was really good. I actually wish that I hadn't done it just in a live stream, but also recorded it with a good camera, because the little bits and pieces, the things that I do that, while regular, there are also some sort of anomalies. Now, one of those things, amongst the other two items that I've already talked about, if you haven't seen those, just check them out here. But his frogs. Now, his front frogs were fine for the most part. So most of what I'm just going to mess around with here is just some exfoliating stuff, especially in this frog. It's just so dry. There's no reason to, I mean, if I saw something, I would think there's a reason to do something, but overall, I'm just going to make sure his frog doesn't have anything trapped in there. It's a good depth or a good height. The bars are fine. It's okay if they're a little bit rough and stuff like that. That's okay. We're really just going to be fixing his walls. So just little bits and pieces that were kind of worn out. Frogs will exfoliate naturally. They are continued, like the walls and like the sole. They are continuously growing. Different material, softer, cushiony, sort of rubbery kind of like material, but they're constantly growing. Once in a while they'll get to a place where they stop exfoliating correctly and they will overgrow. Then when that happens, you end up getting so much material that the frog ends up shedding off. Now, I don't consider a shedding off frog healthy. I believe that it is much more, that if it was maintained on sort of a more regular basis, it wouldn't need to shed off. It would just be, artificially exfoliated at a healthy level. So in one of his feet, one of his back feet, I think I have my, oh, well, I don't need it. If you're missing your hoof pick, you can use the back of your knife, give a little cleaning. The vet taught me that. This frog is the same as the other one. It needs a good trim. So I'll grab my nippers and get to it. Atta boy. You might be wondering, well, how do you know what to do? I get that question a lot. I know what to do because I've done this quite a bit, and I know, and by feel, by pushing, I can tell there's a hollow in there. I can tell that this outside skin of his frog is sort of hiding some stuff underneath that I don't want in there. So I'm just going to take off the top edge and take a look, and then I can see a little more that there's a pocket of disconnection, and that's shown by the white. And how this peels off like this, it's disconnected. And so I know that from the get-go. I know that when I look at it or touch it or something. And so I can see this massive pocket of disconnection. So I'll just kind of work at that. Oh, so there's a big, yeah, look at that. Big pocket in there. So we don't really want that, I don't think. We want to make sure that they've not got somewhere to trap a bunch of junk in. And regular trimming of the frog is necessary. Whoever started some weird rumor about don't trim the frog at all is nuts. Just kidding. In most cases, you don't have to do much to the frog. In this case, we're just going to take off this top bit. And it's fine. The stuff underneath is mature enough that he'll be fine. But in some cases, it's not mature enough, so you have to be cautious. Okay, buddy, there you go. He had a layer of frog that was covering the other layer of frog. Shape of a frog. Let's talk about shape of a frog. Let's draw on the whiteboard again. So if we've got, I'll just draw a big foot here. We've got sort of a triangle-like shape that will come down sort of like that, and then in the middle there's a bit of a piece there, and then a piece there, and the bars grow down here, and so on and so forth. So you've got this frog. Now, what can happen when it overgrows is mostly you'll find that this middle part will be totally, I refer to it as plugged up. I refer to it as sort of filled in or plugged up or something like that. And generally it's accepted that it shouldn't be. There should be some, what we refer to as the central sulcus, and these are the collateral sulci, like fungus and fungi. The plural for sulcus is sulci. So there you go. So the collateral sulci and the central sulcus. So the central sulcus here should be a little bit open. And the idea being that the frog provides this cushion and has to sort of expand and move a little bit. And when the center part gets all sort of clogged up, it doesn't necessarily sort of move this way and that way. The whole thing just kind of goes like that, and it's connected, and there's some strong beliefs that they need to be quite independent, almost like a left and right side of a frog. So when I was messing around with his back foot, I noticed that the material in here was squishy. Now, not all squishy frogs in the middle mean something bad at all. It can just be kind of squishy. It can also be quite hard. In a frog that is super hard here, usually in the summertime, I'll usually just cut a little bit out just to help separate the left and right, or the inside and outside of the frog here. But in the squishy cases, it's important to take a look. Sometimes you can poke right through that squishiness with a hoof pick. Sometimes it's thrush. Actually, one of the things we were trying to inhibit is thrush by checking it out. But in his case, which was actually quite interesting, he had a layer of frog that was about a couple of millimeters thick, like a 1/16 of an inch kind of thing, not very thick. If left to its own devices on the right kind of ground, I would imagine it would sort of cut and wear off and be kind of flappy and stuff like that. So what we're doing when we're trimming is we are artificially creating an exfoliating material, which happens to be a sharp blade of a knife, usually. In the summertime, you might use your rasp to sort of carve away a little bit of that really callousy stuff. And you can use little nippers like I use to check that out. And with experience, you'll know, when poking it, if it's going to be too soft, just the right amount of soft, feels like there's something hollow in there. And in his case, it felt like there was a gap, like an air gap in there. We want to not allow the air gap, but at the same time, we have to consider that if we were to take off that outer covering, is the underside of the frog tough enough or hard enough to manage the elements? And the best way to do that, obviously, is to sort of check it out, make a cut and take off and really sort of press on that with a hoof pick, something dull. If you find it's quite hard, it's probably going to be okay. If it's quite soft, then the outer layer needs to stay on a little bit longer. That's not as common. Usually by the time that one layer and a second layer is separating off for a shedding process, it means the under layer says, I'm good, take off, I don't need you anymore. So again, we sort of artificially recreate the exfoliation process of it. Yeah, go ahead with the question.
Front hoof shapes seem different from hind hoofs.
Yeah.
Are front feet and rear feet different shapes, or are all four supposed to be the same size?
There's a new theory going around that the fronts and backs should be just about the same sort of shape. And I agree with that to an extent. Come on, buddy. Give it back. But for the most part, yeah, they're different shape. They've got more of a oval shape on the back and a round shape on the front. Ideally.
When you say ideally,
Well, once in a while you'll come across horses that have sort of an ovally shaped front foot. So here's a little bit of frog maintenance. I'm just searching here to find stuff that isn't connected, and his feet are hard. So this is not coming off easy.
how can you see laminitis in a hoof?
Laminitis presents itself generally as excessive flare, inflammation of the leg, and lamina. It's a big topic. Okay. Just a second while I fix this up a bit. Yeah, that can come off. Okay, that's good. Better. Quickly do his bars while I'm here, and then we'll work on the walls. Come on, buddy. Okay, that's good. So, very important to maintain frogs. I definitely think that in most cases, frogs can be mostly left alone. There's not a lot to cut. A little bevel, get these collateral sulci sort of able to clear themselves out a little bit. Frog can kind of lay over inside of there, which we don't want. And so a little bevel on the outside edge is just fine, but massive cuts to the frog generally can weaken it and create more softness. So, but an overgrowth can be painful and not allow new growth to continue to come down. So I thought that would be interesting. That was an item that I talked about a little bit in that live stream, but I don't think I really got into too much of it. But I'll do my best to talk more about frogs in the future. This stream it's invaluable. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely recommend watching it if you're interested in hoof trimming or understanding how the hoof works. Sky's feet were in very good shape overall, but there's a few things that we're just kind of continuously trying to improve or maintain at the very least so it doesn't get worse. And that can literally be from an environment problem, a diet problem, or a conformation problem that is sort of outside of the normal realms of control for trimming. You just can't, if you're just trimming, you can't do anything about diet, can't really change the environment. You know, in a lot of cases you can't do those things, so you have to manage it by trimming. So the frog is really important. You must maintain it. It must be kept healthy. Thrush must be eradicated. So very important. And usually that can be done through just a good, healthy trim. In worst cases, you have to apply some medication. But I'll talk about thrush in a whole other video because it's a good topic to talk about. I haven't seen a lot of it lately, so I haven't really had it on my mind, but I know a lot of other people that do, and so hopefully that'll be helpful. But other than that, I wanted to just talk about a little bit about how that frog exfoliates off, why we have to artificially do it, and how we can tell when to do it. So hopefully that helps. If not, let me know below. If you have any questions, let me know below, or contact me anytime, and we'll take it from there. I'll see you guys in the next video.